4 p.m. All alderpersons will be present. Alderperson Evanston is traveling, and she will be joining us when she's available. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance and silent prayer in lieu of invocation. Amen. Okay, our next item is the reading of the minutes from the previous meetings held on November 16th, November 22nd. See attachment 1 and 2. Sorry about that. What are your wishes?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion by Bemke and second by Austin. Any discussion on those reports? Seeing none, please cast your ballot. There you go. There you go. Thank you. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. Our next item is Common Council appointment of a regular member to the Water and Light Commission for term expiring October 1st, 2026. In your packet, you will see 2 interested parties, and in the audience, we have Tom here. Should you wish to speak or have him speak, or any questions? Just make sure the light is green. So if it hit the button that says push,
There we go.
there you go. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody has questions of me. I've been on the commission for 10 years. And the reason I do this is I'm interested. And I can tell you that I'm interested. I missed very few meetings in 10 years. And that's our regular commission meetings and extra meetings that we have maybe once or twice a month or sometimes none. And I think our utility is something that we all can be proud of. I know I'm very proud of the people that work there and the things that our employees accomplish. And that's both on the water and the electric side. And I think the electric utility and the water utility is most important when it comes to the growth of the city as far as new businesses coming in. And one of the things that enhances the growth of our utility is that we have power that's, you might not think so after last week when we all lost power, but we have pretty dependable power. When you take the numbers for available power during the year, and when we have a storm like we had last week, I think we were out for 4 to 5 hours for most of the city. Some of the people were out longer, but I have to respect our employees. When you have to go out in the middle of the night in a windstorm, in driving rain, and get power to the city. And We have no problems at all getting our employees out there. And like I said, I'm very proud of the people that we have and I worked with, and I'm very proud of the utility and what we've accomplished. If there's any questions, I'll gladly answer.
Thank you, Tom. Does anybody have a question or any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Nope. Guess we would entertain nominations for the Water and Light Commission.
I'd like to nominate Tom Nowak.
Thank you. And I don't think we need seconds. It's just nominations. Thanks. Is there any other nominations? And is there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, we can just do a unanimous consent. So if we would entertain a motion for unanimous consent to approve Tom to the Water and Light Commission.
So moved.
I heard Bemke first. And is there a second? We have a second from Dean. They're fighting over you, Tom. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So a yes votes in favor and a no votes not. So please cast your ballots. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Congratulations, Tom. Our next item of business is to consider approval for Mayor Blazer's appointment of Elizabeth St. Meyer, 1430 Lily Lane, to the Library Board as a regular member to replace Ann Zachary for a term expiring July 1st, 2022. She had resigned midterm because of other obligations.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion by Austin.
Myers.
And we have a second by Zachary. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Oops, sorry. So, item 7 is the Common Council appointment of election inspectors for the term 2022 to 2023. Do we need to do these individually, or can we do them as a group? If nobody has any objections, if you want to do it as a group. If anybody has any questions, the clerk is here. Good.
I mean, I'm not going to single out anybody, but it's just with what's going on in the last year, over an election, and to see people's names on this list, I guess, who are not accepting what the election turnout was a year ago, have yard signs in their yard. Beyond this, strikes me as not right. You may not like how it turned out, and I know that's a national election versus whatever, but it's filtered down into the state, and those trying to get a forensic recount in that. And the question that I have is, some buddy like that or people like that, should they be entitled to this great job, position of monitoring, running, or election sites. People that question what happened before, and all studies have proved it wrong, but still question or still argue it, still want to keep going with it. I'm leery of those people. I'm leery of those people working at our ballot headquarters. Now, some can say, I guess it's their right to do. Maybe it is. But they have not come up with anything that proves anything. And it's 13 months past. And so somewhat scares me. That's what scares me. The election of 13 months ago didn't. Scares me what they're going to do in the future. The ones that questioned 13 months ago. So at this point in time, first I have to ask the attorney, Madam Attorney, can somebody ask to be put on this list later? After this, if it gets approved, I mean?
The parties can supplement the lists throughout the year, correct? Clerk, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm somewhat torn here on what to do. I've never been, I don't think ever in all the times of doing this that ever been put in a situation. And it's one of those things that, because to me, the right to vote, I take it, as the most important thing that we have in this country. You might not like the outcomes at times, but you have that right to do, privilege to do. What makes me leery of people questioning 13 months later if they want to do this in this grand old city of ours. And in this case, in the cases, these people have never done this before. So it makes me wonder, is there an ulterior motive to do this? I hope we aren't getting to what other communities have gotten to, of trying to stack the deck and scare people away. Because I know it won't happen with me. So I guess I'll let us get to what we're going to do, but I guess what I end up doing, you will all know what the reason for. And I just see question. Is there some underhanded things going on? Anybody has a right to do this. I'm not questioning that. Questioning the motive of. I'm questioning their sincerity of. I'm questioning their honesty of counting ballots when they have signs up there still asking for forensic recounts. I'll end up voting, I guess, but I guess we don't really need this, I don't think, till February. Maybe there'll be more to say over the course of the next month, maybe later tonight, but I wouldn't have a problem if we waited till next month to do something with these. And okay, I will.
By state statute, we have to approve the list by December 31st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's get on with it.
Oops, excuse me. Thank you, Tom. I'd entertain a motion. No. Sure. Clerk would like to say something. Maybe explain how the list comes about.
So if you're talking about the party list, the parties are allowed to send us lists of people that they are nominating to serve as election inspectors for the 2-year term. It's not something that we can, unless there's a reason to disqualify somebody, a valid reason, it's not something we can really go through and pick out who we want and who we don't want. So I got the lists and I'm presenting them to you. It is unbalanced because those are the lists that I got. So I don't edit them at all. And the rest of the election inspectors are all unaffiliated. So just to clarify.
Thank you. Good.
So, do you use everybody on these lists? Do you need that many people?
We're required to use from the parties first. So let's say that we have 9 election workers at a polling place. Whoever in the last general election, which happens to be the presidential, it's either presidential or the race for the governor, whoever won the last general election at that polling place, not whoever won it, won the election, but whoever was the leader at that polling place, that party gets one more inspector than the other party does. So in Wisconsin Rapids, both of our polling places, the Republican candidate won. So if I have 9 inspectors at a polling place, 5 of those slots are now slated for Republican, 4 of them are slated for Democrat. But I only got 3 names from the Democratic Party. So, and those are split between 2 polling places. So the Republican Party is only allowed 1 more than however many Democrats I have at the polling place. So 1 polling place will have 2 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and then the other 4 people are unaffiliated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I make a motion to accept the lists as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. And a second. Any further discussion?
Is that all
Um,
together? Is that all together?
Was that,
All
yeah.
3 lists, yeah.
They're separate attachments.
The clerks, or the attorney said we could do all 3 unless there was an objection on one of them or some of them, or,
I
I'd
did,
rather do it separately.
are you good with that on your motion?
You want me to make 3 separate motions?
No, we'd have to take them one at a time and then vote.
I make a motion to accept the Democratic Party inspectors list.
You good with that, Dean? Okay, thank you. Ryan, did you have a question or did you, same thing?
No, on what grounds would somebody be able to be removed from these lists? Is there a short answer to this or not really?
if they're uneligible to serve, if they are not of age, if they're not from Wood County, have a felony, if they're not eligible to vote. So that's basically the only way they would be disqualified.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Sorry, we're on item B, the Republican Party inspector list. What are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to accept the Republican inspectors list as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second? Oh, sorry, there's a second. Any further discussion on that? Jake?
Yeah, this is a question for Tom. Is there a specific person on a specific list that you're speaking to, or speaking to a party?
No, I'm going to vote to approve this. Republican.
Okay, I'm just wondering what your speech was
The
about
immediate,
earlier.
the immediate, the immediate question that I had would just be with the unaffiliated. That would be,
So when you're referencing someone having a yard sign questioning the previous election, is that someone specifically on one of these lists
from the unaffiliated.
from any of them? I guess I'm confused. If is there someone to be concerned about on one of these lists? Or?
It's from one of the lists.
Okay. I mean, do you want to speak to that in particular, or what? I guess I would like to know if I'm voting to approve someone who there's questions about.
It's probably,
Is it a Ella Jill? I can't talk now. Ella Jill. I can't say it. Okay, I'm done.
Is it based on eligibility, Tom?
Thank you.
Can you do it?
Whether this person is an elector?
No,
Okay.
I just question it because of, I guess, the viewpoints that they have, and then that those people, if they would be working, could be lending their viewpoints on certain things to people that came to vote.
So, may I address? So we,
Not on how to vote, but what their views on politics are.
okay, that's not something that's allowed at the polling place.
I know, and that's why.
Yep.
And that's why.
Yep. So we, if somebody, that's called electioneering, and if somebody is discussing politics or a candidate or a party or anything, then they are spoken to immediately and told to stop, and if they continue, they're ejected. So that's, yeah, that's not allowed. Because they're not there to voice their opinions, they're there to help do the election. So, and they, by the way, they don't run it.
And that's why I'm going to vote for the Republicans that are on here in the list, and I'm probably going to vote for the unaffiliated. That's where the question in my mind comes in. But I'm going to not to hold up the works any longer. Take her clear, and I know that anyway. Take her at her word that, and hopefully that does not occur anyway. But just I guess the main was bring I wanted to bring it to the attention of everybody, I guess. So
Okay.
what was out there, but it wasn't back in my mind about maybe voting no on this unaffiliated one. That's why I asked to have 3 separate votes, but it's just I guess I got to say what I wanted to say, and we'll let it go like that and see what happens.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. No further discussions. Please cast your ballots. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. Item C.
I make a motion to approve the unaffiliated inspectors nominated by Mayor Blazer's list.
It's actually the clerk's list.
Clerk's list.
Is it my list? Oh,
Mayor Blazer's list.
yeah, you're welcome. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Did you break it? That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. Any juice left? You ready? Nope. Okay, we are on to item number 8. Consider a resolution changing the polling place for wards 14, 15, and 16 from Centralia Center to East Junior High School. Jennifer?
The reason that I am proposing this is that Centralia Center is small and East Junior High is very big. So it's quite congested, especially when we do a general election at Centralia Center. It's very cramped in there. So wards 14, 15, and 16 are District 5, which are all on the east side of the river. So it makes sense that they would then vote on the east side to alleviate some of that congestion at Centralia. The only one that is, the only ones that then are voting on the west side who live on the east side are District 3, but that district is split. Half is on one side of the river, half's on the other. So
Any questions for the clerk? Nah.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
We have a motion by Bemke and seconded by Austin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Success. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. We're on to item 9, consider adoption the actions of the Plan Commission at its meeting held on December 6, 2021. That's me. The Plan Commission met at 4 p.m. on December 6, 2021 in the council chambers. List of members present are on file at the clerk's office. The first item was to approve the reports from the previous meeting, which was approved, 6 ayes, 0 nays. Item 2 was Plan 21-1203, Consolidated Paper Company. They had a request to alter the boundary lines of a non-conforming lot to lessen the non-conforming lot at 2721 Fifth Avenue. On a motion and a second, that was approved. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Item 3 was Plan 21-1193, Assumption High School. They had a request for a sign exception to increase the maximum height of the proposed ground sign from 8 feet to 10 feet 3 inches at 445 Chestnut Street. There was a public hearing, and I made the motion, and it was seconded to allow the exception. That motion failed, 1 to 5 nays. Item 4 is Plan 21-1185, Teresa Cashman out of the Box Coffee House. They had a request for a site plan review for an expansion to their existing cafe at 3820 East Street South. On a motion and a second, that was approved. A list of conditions are on file in the Community Development Department. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Item 5 is Plan 21-1176, Kyle Stern. There's a public hearing on an action on a request for a conditional use permit to renovate the building into mixed-use housing at 1551 West Grand Avenue. There was a public hearing. No one spoke. There was a motion and a second to approve. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays, with a list of conditions on file in the Community Development Department. There was a motion to adjourn at 5:28 p.m., and it was seconded and carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Go ahead.
I'd like to hold out number 3 and make a motion to pass the rest.
I don't see him. Well, wait a minute. So we'll hold out item 3, and then there's a motion by Zachary to approve the balance of the report. And seconded by Bemke. And I'm just checking something here quick. See if this is Kyle.
Hi, this is Kyle. Can you hear me?
Thanks, Kyle. I was just verifying that was your phone number.
Yep, I'm on and available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Sounds good. We'll take up the balance of the report. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none? Correct. All the conditions listed within each item. Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. Item 3, Matt.
So I made it to the planning commission meeting, and Mr. Rafe, is that Mr.
Hafes.
Hafes? Mr. Hafes, my apologies, is the gentleman who is flipping a really large bill in order to put this sign up at the Assumption Catholic Schools at the high school. The problem with it is that the sign is 10 foot 3 inches tall, and the signs ordinances that were passed in July shrunk that signage to 8 feet from 12 feet. And in the meantime, Mr. Hafe has some other friends, and they went throughout the community and they measured every sign at every school in the community, and they all come within between 9.5 feet and 11.5 to 12 feet wide and tall. So I'm not sure why, when we did the signs, we didn't think to look at the existing signs and say there's no reason to bring this down to 8 feet. And it seemed, and I could be corrected here, that everybody kind of agreed that the ordinance should be changed back to 12 feet or something along those lines. So at this point, I would like to give my support to allowing Mr. Hafe to continue with this project because it's in the works already. He's got the money down. He's doing a really big thing for the community, and he'd like to get the project completed and keep moving forward for his next year's work. He's a gentleman that's investing a ton of money into the community in different ways, and I think we can work with him on this one thing, considering it's going to take the council a while to get that ordinance changed back to what it was. Thank you.
So was that a motion to allow him to exceed the maximum height?
Yes, that I'm making a motion to allow the sign to move forward at Assumption High School.
Okay. So we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Maybe we should make sure, I'll get to you next, but let's let Kyle speak, and then also if Kyle could speak to whether or not this item ends at the Plan Commission or if the council has the ability to grant this. Kyle?
Hi. Thank you, Mayor. So with regards to the latter part of that question, we included a sign exception in the new sign code that was adopted in July of this year. And the sign exceptions were determined to go to the City Plan Commission, and there they would have final approval. I would ask the city attorney if, under the sign code, Chapter 46, if any sign decision or determination can be appealed to the council, because the section of the code regarding sign exceptions does not include language regarding council approval. So with that being said, it could be interpreted that with the Plan Commission denial or the failure to approve the sign, that the applicant would then have to seek an appeal and make a formal request for an appeal, which then could possibly go to council. But again, I would ask the city attorney to confirm. in terms of the second part of the question, or the first part of the question regarding the ordinance, it is correct that the ordinance was completely rewritten and adopted in July. Again, prior, there wasn't really a sign exception process, so we did include within the new sign code a sign exception process that allows an applicant to pursue a sign exception for height or size when there are site difficulties or other parameters that would warrant a sign exception. And we did not, in our staff memo and our analysis, determine that the sign warranted a sign exception, so we did recommend denial. However, we are in the works to include a ordinance amendment to the sign code in January, and I personally am supportive of increasing the height from 8 feet to a minimum of 10. And if Plan Commission and Council wanted to increase it to 12 in January, they could also pursue that. But at this point, again, staff is going to introduce an amendment to the sign code at the January Plan Commission meeting that then can also be taken up at the subsequent council meeting in January. With that, I'd be happy to take any additional questions regarding the item or the proposed process moving forward.
Does anyone have any questions for Kyle while Sue is scanning? Jay?
Kyle, this is Jay.
Yeah. I forgot that we got a. Did you have a question specifically for Kyle? Or go ahead. Let's go in order. So let's take Jay or Jake. Go ahead. Let's run down the line.
But just to be clear, it was just spoken to that we can't overturn it even if we want to, right?
And that's what I think she's looking at.
Okay. Well, whatever's found from that, I don't like that we're asked to approve agenda meetings, and this happens with all of them, and one just happened with Park and Rec, that we can't then address the decision that was made or send it back or reverse it, but yet we're supposed to approve it. So, but that's another conversation. So you said they went around and measured all the other schools' signs in the area, and that they were what?
Between like 9.5 and 11.5.
Okay. I guess I would just ask those who were at the planning commission meeting or Kyle, other than it being in the ordinance, what was the reasoning for not granting the exception? If there was any.
Yeah, I was the one. I was there, and Ryan was there too. So I was in favor of it.
The reason was this is a newly adopted sign code, and the commission all agreed. The first thing we want to do right off the gate is grant an exception to the sign code. I think we were all in favor of amending the code, so moving forward, everybody has a fair shot at what they want to do with their signage. So I think that was the thinking of the commission.
I think this almost should live separate from that. I mean, this isn't a business set off of Chestnut Street. It's a school, which I feel like acts differently. But I guess the conversation only goes as far as if we can do anything about it tonight or not, so I won't add anything else.
Thank you. Jay?
This is for Kyle. Kyle, first of all, did they start this process before we changed the ordinance? Did they contact you, and has the sign already been purchased? And then lastly, can we just refer this item back, since this is going to be addressed in January again anyways?
Did you catch that, Kyle?
I did, yes. So I was notified, I believe, in late November, the middle to late November, of the interest from the applicant to pursue the signage, and moved fairly quickly in our review and determined that the sign did not meet the height requirements, and then outlined with the applicant as well as the sign contractor the sign exception avenue, and actually added it to the agenda kind of last minute for Plan Commission, to see if they could continue to install the sign this year if the exception was granted. So no, it was after the sign code had been adopted. And again, I think the conversation began in about middle of November.
So if they've started installing it, I'm assuming they've already purchased it, and then I guess my question would be, can we refer this back to that commission? So,
Sounds like,
Well, I guess the ordinance that was adopted says that the plan commission is the one that this allows sign exceptions, and they have not allowed it. So
oh,
So it
the
almost-
council doesn't, right, the council doesn't, is not involved in sign exceptions according to the ordinance.
so what happens if we vote no on this?
Well,
it's
what do you mean you're
irrelevant.
voting no on it? It's an action that was taken by the plan commission. It's a part of the minutes that you're just basically reading what happened. It's not an actionable item for the council.
Thanks.
Did someone say that it's like being constructed now and was planning to be put like up
I don't-
right now? So they couldn't wait till January?
That's the way it
I guess
seemed
I
to
would,
recall.
rather than kind of put the ordinance on its head here, I think it probably would be best to, maybe they withdraw their, well, I guess it's already been denied, but I guess if the ordinance is changed in January, then they could file another permit request or exception request based upon the new ordinance, assuming that it's changed.
So I think we need to withdraw that motion and then and then probably adopt the actions of the plan commission as presented. Jake?
Question for the city attorney. Why does the planning commission and other commission meeting minutes come to the council for approval when we cannot adjust nor refer them back?
Well, they wouldn't have to, I guess. At the end, all of those reports are just for you to review them. You don't take any action on anything at the end. And then there are some plan commission items, such as CSMs, and I guess maybe the better practice would be to just differentiate those that require council action and those don't. I guess in the past, we've just been adopting the whole report, even those items that you don't have, you can't change or vote on, but either that or you can change your sign ordinance to provide that sign exceptions come to the council upon recommendation of the plan commission rather than final approval. And it's a lot of times, I mean, a lot of cities have it where the plan commission actually makes a fair amount of decisions on their own without, the council even passing on them. So there are some limited things though that plan commission does, sign exceptions, one of them, that are what they do, and the council is not involved.
Thank you. I guess I'll address more of this in a referral at a later time, but rather than the mayor read through the planning commission minutes at every common council meeting, which thank you for doing that, maybe we don't need that to happen if we can't even take action on most of these items, and it can be in other reports unless it's a notable, like you mentioned,
As an action item?
in a
I think you
referral.
misunderstood what I said. If you said that most of the items you can't take action on, I say it's very limited. In limited circumstances, do the plan commission make decisions that you can't pass on? So
Okay. Well, I guess I'll address it in a referral at a different time for the legislative committee, but thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Jake. So probably would it be easier just to withdraw or vote? Well, yeah, they can't really vote on it, so. So would you be willing to withdraw your motion?
So at this time, I would withdraw my motion, but I would like to, again, for the records,
Dean, would you?
state thank you to Mr. Hay for the work that he's doing in our community and the amount of resources he's putting in to help out. And I definitely hope that the Planning Commission will help him move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I'd entertain a motion to adopt item 3 of the Plan Commission report as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion by Austin. No, it's kind of a tie. Dean, a little louder. No, it was, you were louder. So we have a motion. I have a motion and a second to approve the report as present, or the item as presented. Seeing no further discussion, please cast your ballot. That motion carried 5 ayes, 2 nays. Okay, we are moving on to item 10, consider adoption the action of the standing committees from the Common Council as follows. The first one is Finance and Property Committee meeting held November 4th. Mr. Rayon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Finance and Property Committee met at 4:30 PM on Thursday, November 4th, 2021, in the council's chambers at City Hall. All members of Finance and Property Committee were present except Alderperson Bebke. Also in attendance were Alderperson Evanson, Andy Barnett, Alderperson Delaney via Zoom, and Tim DeSorcy. Item 1 was to call the meeting to order. Chairperson Rayom called the meeting to order at 4:34 PM. Item 2, 2022 Macmillan Memorial Library Budget Review. The Library Director, Andy Barnett, presented and reviewed the 2022 Macmillan Library budget with the committee. No action was taken. Item 3, 2022 City of Wisconsin Rapids Budget Review. Finance Director, Tim DeSorcy, addressed questions on the budget and no action was taken. Item 4 was to adjourn. It was moved by Catnaw, seconded by Rayom to adjourn. The motion carried and meeting adjourned at 6:01 PM. And with that, Your Honor, I move for adoption of that report. We do have another one.
Item 3, 2022 City.
Thank you. We have a motion by Rayom, second by Catnaw. Just want to welcome Ms. Evanson to the meeting. She's appearing by Zoom. Patrick.
I just wanted to say a quick word of praise for the Public Works Superintendent Paul Vollert for his recent purchases he has made, where he is able to obtain equipment for a very reduced rate. Just wanted to say excellent job.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Sherry, we just read the Finance and Property report from November 4th, just to kind of get you up to date where we're at.
Yep, thank you.
Oh, thank you. So I'll call for the vote, and then I'll ask you for your vote after everyone else submits it.
There's another meeting, another no,
Oh, do you want to read that one
No,
first,
no.
or? Okay,
just
right.
so we know there is.
Okay.
Because that one is, the second one also got, at least on my copy, noted as November 4th. When it should have been Tuesday, December 7th.
I got December 7th on the agenda, but your report is,
In the
okay.
report.
okay. We can make that correction.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get through this. So we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, please cast your ballots. Can you fix her? Sherry, how do you vote?
I
Thank you. Yeah. Clerk's trying to fix her computer.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Aye. So that motion carried 8 ayes, 0 nays. All right, Finance and Property Committee meeting held December 7th. Mr. Rayon.
Thank you. Finance and Property Committee met at 4:30 PM on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, in the council chambers at City Hall. All members of the Finance and Property Committee were present, with Alderperson Catnaw attending via Zoom remote. Also in attendance were Alderperson Veneman, Alderperson Delaney, Mayor Blazer, Paul Vollert, Interim Fire Chief Eckes, and Tim DeSorcy. Item 1 was called a meeting to order. Chairperson Rayom called the meeting to order at 4:36 PM. Item 2, review and approve a proposal to purchase a used Finn T30 hydro seeder. Is moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom to approve the purchase of a Finn T30 hydro seeder from LF George Incorporated for $11,800. That motion carried. Item 3, review and approve a proposal to purchase a roller attachment and counterweights for Public Works skid steer. Is moved by Catnaw, seconded by Bemke to approve the purchase of a CV-119 vibratory compactor and 2 sets of rear weights and hardware from Fabric of Wausau for $12,000. That motion carried. Item 4, consider for approval a request from the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department to apply for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. Is moved by Catnaw, seconded by Bemke to approve the application for Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the amount of $103,000 with the local match in the amount of $5,150. That motion carried. Item 5, consider for approval a temporary retail Class B fermented malt beverages license for Central Wisconsin Cultural Center Incorporated, 2651 8th Street South, for a reception, abstract artist invitational event to be held on Thursday, January 20th, 2022, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's moved by Rayom, seconded by Bemke to approve the temporary retail Class B fermented malt beverages license for Central Wisconsin Cultural Center Incorporated, 2651 8th Street South, for a reception, abstract artist invitational event to be held on Thursday, January 20th, 2022, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., and that motion carried. Item 6, consider a request from E-Waste Sales LLC, DBA E-Way Sales, Jonathan Reuter, agent, located at 2660 8th Street South, number 105, for renewal of a pawnbroker, secondhand article dealer, and secondhand jewelry dealer licenses. Is moved by Rayom, seconded by Catnaw to approve the renewal of pawnbroker, secondhand article dealer, and secondhand jewelry dealer license for E-Way Sales LLC, DBA E-Way Sales, and Jonathan Reuter, agent, located at 2660 8th Street South, number 105, and that motion carried. Item 7, consider a request from GameStop Incorporated, DBA GameStop, 3254 Diana Sahajahay, pardon for the name, located at 930 Coon Avenue, for a renewal of a secondhand article dealer license. It's moved by Rayom, seconded by Bemke to approve the renewal of a secondhand article dealer license for GameStop Incorporated, DBA GameStop 3254 Diana Sahajahay, agent, located at 930 Coon Avenue. Motion carried. Item 8, consider for approval the shared ride taxi operating contract between the City of Wisconsin Rapids and Wheels of Independence Incorporated. It is moved by Bemke, seconded by Catnaw to approve the shared ride taxi operating contract between the City of Rapids and Wheels of Independence Incorporated. Motion carried. That is attachment 1 in the minutes. Item 9, consider for approval a resolution amending the 2021 budget. It is moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom to approve the resolution amending the 2021 budget. The motion carried, and that's attachment 2. And item 10, audit of the bills, is moved by Rayom, seconded by Bemke to approve the check number 10856 to 10996. That motion carried. Item 11, set the next meeting date. The date for the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance and Property Committee is January 4th, 2022. Item 12 was to adjourn. It was moved by Bemke, seconded by Catnaw to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:08 p.m. And just looking back here on one, I think on it, okay, motion carried, it's in there. Okay, I'll move for adoption of the report. I thought one of those didn't have adoption. That's all.
Thank you. We have a motion by Rayom, seconded by Austin. Is there any further discussion on the report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. And Sherry?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 8 ayes, 0 nays. We are on to item C, which is the Public Works Committee meeting held December 7th. Mr. Austin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Committee met on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 in the council chambers at City Hall and via remote video conference. Ryan Austin, Matt Zachary, and Patrick Delaney were in attendance. Others attending are on file in the clerk's office. Item 1 was call the meeting to order. The meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. Item 2, review traffic control study report for the intersection of Apricot Street and 15th Street North. Motion by Delaney and second by Zachary to approve the city's engineer's recommendation to maintain the current intersection control. Motion carried 3-0. Item 3, review traffic control study report for the intersection of Chestnut Street and 12th Street South. No action was taken. Chairperson Austin referred the item to the January Public Works agenda. Item 4, review traffic control study report for the intersection of Sampson Street and Grove Ave. Motion by Delaney and second by Zachary to approve the city engineer's recommendation to augment the current two-way stop with a W4 4P cross traffic does not stop sign. Motion carried 3-0. Item 5, review study or speed study report for Chestnut Street between Hill Street and 8th Street South. No action was taken. Chairperson Austin requested additional information on existing signs and referred the item to the January Public Works agenda. Item 6, consider approving a revision of the state municipal agreement for the West Jackson Street project. Motion by Zachary, second by Austin to approve the revised state municipal agreement for the West Jackson Street project. Motion carried 3-0. Item 7, review referral requesting direction to prioritize transportation utility efforts over special assessment administration. Motion by Austin, second by Delaney to prioritize transportation utility development work over special assessment administration. Motion carried 3-0. Item 8, consider approval of sewer lining contract, the lowest responsible bidder. Motion by Delaney, second by Austin to approve the bid by Visasewer for $407,618 for the lining of sanitary sewer. Motion carried 3-0. Item 9, review the DPW November activities report. The report was reviewed with recognition of the passing of wastewater superintendent Ryan Gieffert and of the excellent work he did for the city. Item 10, review the referral list. The referral list was reviewed. Item 11 was adjournment. Motion by Zachary, second by Delaney to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the report of the Public Works Committee.
Mr. Austin, we have a motion by Austin, second by Katna. Any further discussion on the report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. And Ms. Evanson?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 8 ayes, 0 nays. We are moving on to item D, Human Resource Committee meeting held on December 13th. Mr. Bemke.
Thank you, Mayor. Human Resource Committee met Monday, December 13th. All committee members were present, and there's a list on file in the clerk's office of the others attending. Meeting was called to order at 5:03 p.m. Item number 2 was to discuss and consider for approval the extension of the employee emergency paid COVID leave set to expire on 12/31/21. Motion by Evenson, second by Bemke to allow the employee emergency paid COVID-19 leave to expire 12/31/21. Motion carried 3-0. Item 3, discuss and consider for approval a request for a Tier 11 firefighter position with Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department. Motion by Evanson, second by Benneman to approve the request for a Tier 11 firefighter position with Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department. Motion carried 3-0. Item 4, discuss and consider for approval the attached revision of the overtime and call-in pay policy. Motion by Bemke, second by Benneman to approve the revisions to the overtime and on-call pay policy as presented. Motion carried 3-0. Item 5, discuss and consider for approval the attached revision to the copy and fax machine use policy. Motion by Benneman, second by Bemke, to approve the revisions to the copy and fax machine use policy as presented. Motion carried 3-0. Item 6, the committee may vote to go into closed session under section 19851E Wisconsin Stats, which reads, deliberating or negotiating purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Motion by Bemke, second by Veneman, to go into closed session. Roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. Motion carried 3-0. In closed session, the committee discussed negotiation and bargaining strategy regarding labor negotiations with IAFF and WRPPA. The committee returned to open session. Motion made by Veneman, second by Bemke, to return to open session. Motion carried 3-0. Item 8, the committee may vote to go into closed session pursuant section 19851C of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance, evaluation of data, or any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Motion by Veneman, second by Bemke, to go into closed session. Roll call vote was taken. Motion carried 2-1 with Evanston voting in the negative. In closed session, the committee discussed employment and compensation for a public employee, including a separation from employment. Item 9, the committee will return to open session. Motion by Bemke, second by Veneman, to return to open session. Motion carried 3-0. Item 10, the committee may take action in open session regarding employment and compensation for an employee and separation agreement. Motion by Bemke, second by Veneman, to refer taking action regarding employment and compensation for an employee and separation agreement to the full council at the next council meeting. Motion carried 2-1, Evanston voting in the negative. Item 11, consider the status of Public Works Director position and its possible elimination. Motion by Veneman, second by Bemke, to refer the status of the Public Works Director position and its possible elimination to the full Common Council at the next council meeting. Motion carried 2-1, with Evanston voting in the negative. Item 12, discuss and consider for approval request from Mayor Blazer for an organizational restructure of the Department of Public Works. Motion by Veneman, second by Bemke, to refer the approval of a request from Mayor Blazer for an organizational restructure of the Department of Public Works to the full Common Council at the next council meeting. Motion carried 2-1 with Evanston voting in the negative. Item 13 was adjournment. Meeting was adjourned at 6. Motion by Bemke, second by Veneman, to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. Meeting adjourned at 6:23 p.m. With that, Mayor, I would like to adopt the Human Resource Committee minutes with the exceptions. I'd like to hold out 8 through 12, please.
Thank you. We have a motion.
I'd like to hold out item 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said item 3. Everybody good with that? Holding out item 3 also? Okay. Second by Austin. So we have items 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 held out. Okay, any questions on the balance of the report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Ms. Evanson.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 8 ayes, 0 nays. Item 3.
Thank you. I would first give the chief an opportunity to speak to the need for adding a tier 11 firefighter.
Sure. I guess if you remember when we first came in front of the council in finance and property about the areas to the south of us that were going to lose their ambulance service, we did a lot of research and we have had a 11th tier. So we've had 2 crews of 11 and 1 crew of 10 for about 2 years. That one of the reasons that happened was we split or did a reorganization of our structure, and where one person was taking care of all the EMS and fire, we split that out so that we brought an extra management person in. And one of the agreements at the time, and things change, I understand that, was that when our admin secretary retired, between that and if through tracking the overtime, we could prove the justification that that 11th tier would be filled. In that time, we were told when we put a requisition in that that money was now being used for a billing service, our billing service for our EMS. Well, when we started looking at these areas, we're going to need that extra person. One person in the raise and 9-man minimum staffing, and I think you can talk to any one of our members, is what we need to take on that extra area. We're pretty much in agreement that that will take care of that extra area. That one person makes a big difference of that 9-man staffing. So that was one of the parts of that agreement to take on those areas, is that we would need that extra person. And that's what I'm making a request for, is that just that one person to fill that 11th tier.
Two more additional questions. Do you know how much overtime we'll be saving? And I believe it was stated before we took on the additional contracts that whether we approve the position, we would be able to handle those with current staffing. Is that correct?
Whether we approve the position, we could still handle it? I don't remember ever saying that.
Okay, what about the other question?
Okay, well, with the retainer fees from it, actually some of the overtime, if there is any, is caught up in that. I think Tim explained that during his analysis of it. So through some of the retainer fees, if there was any overtime, that would pay for some of that. But what we get with that ninth person is once we get an ambulance in service, right now, if we put 2 ambulances in service with 2 people on our minimum staffing days of 8 people, we're already starting to call one person back because we have to keep 5 people available for fires. So with that 9th person staffing, we send 2 ambulances out, 2 in each ambulance. We still have 5 people here. Every time we get that second ambulance out right now, we're calling back. We're not going to have to do that with that 9th person staffing. Every time in there, there's no callback for that.
Thank you. The one thing I would just bring the attention of the council is that later on here, we're going to discuss possibly eliminating one position to add another position here. In terms of this specific department, my concerns are that with adding the additional firefighter, when Tim ran through the numbers, and I believe he's on the call, you could go through it again, we're only coming ahead in this first year by around $40,000. Now that, of course, will be trimmed over the life of these contracts due to inflation and increases of other costs. And I don't want to get in the position where a year or 2 down the road, we're subsidizing ambulance service for these other communities from the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids. And that's where the margins are right now. That's what it's going to be at. The one thing I would say is that I'm not against adding this position. I do think it should be held off until a rate study is done, which was discussed at the Finance and Property Committee meeting for that there would be a study done on where our rates were and adjusted accordingly. So my understanding is that would happen this coming year, and perhaps this position get held off until that's done to make sure that we are going to come up enough ahead to make this financially make sense, because right now it doesn't to me.
Tim, are you available? Or do you have any information? Anybody else in the meantime have any questions for the interim chief?
Thank you. So just so I'm understanding this, I hear tier 11, and then I hear you saying the ninth person. It's two different things. Like a tier is, could you explain that, please?
Sure. A tier is, so every level in our fire department, there's 3 people on a tier. So whether that's the MPO or the firefighter all the way down. Right now, we have 2 crews with 11 tiers and 1 crew with 10 tiers. 9-man minimum staffing is we start the day with 9 people minimum for the day. Right now, we're doing that with 8. We're starting with 8. We're expected to take on, and it's going to be hard to start that without that extra person, being that these contracts are already signed. As of December 30th, we are contracting those areas. Those were the agreements that were made before, so we got permission from the council and from finance and property to go ahead and pursue those contracts. So with that goodwill agreement that we felt we had from the council to fill that 11th tier, we went ahead and did that. It's going to be pretty hard to run short. And I think when I was here that night, and Tim gave a pretty good analysis of we're going to be able to handle that and have that 40,000 you speak of. And then even afterwards, he says we are going to save some overtime out of that yet besides. In the years to come in all of these contracts, they jump up. I mean, in 2 years, they jump up. They're 4-year contracts. So I can't tell you how important that is. You'll see at the end of the year, in my end of the year summary, our call volume, not even including these areas, jumped 14% this year, from a 1 to 5% annually. And that's not from us covering those areas. The 450 extra calls we had this year, about 80 of those are us covering the Coosa's area. That's the rise in our call volume this last year. This tier 11, 1 person and 9-man staffing is to take care of that extra area. I can't tell you that in a year or 2 years, I can see somebody, whoever that chief is at the time, is going to be here asking for another tier, because our call volume continues to increase exponentially over the last few years. Our population's getting old in the city, and our call volume is showing it. That doesn't even mean the outlying areas. That's just within our city. Like I said, of the 450 calls, about 80 or 90 of those were us covering the Coosa. The rest were in our area already. So we need that person, not just for those areas, but right now just to start to cover what we're going to see, what we already see this year in our call volume. And again, in a year or two, I can see whoever's the chief, whether it's me or whoever, is going to be sitting here asking you for another tier, because that's going to continue.
It was my understanding too that when last time we talked, we gave the okay to get that, to fill that 11th tier. So in what year are you thinking that there's going to be another request for another tier?
Well, I can tell you right now. I mean, we're not, again, I don't want to muddy the waters that we're asking for an extra tier right now for this. We get this extra person in our 9-man staffing, we can handle the extra EMS contract areas that we're taking on. But even right now, we run more calls in Marshfield, and we run more calls in Stevens Point, and we're running with, 3 less in Marshfield and 6 less in Stevens Point. And we're running more calls in both of them. So, I mean, we've got a good team there, and they're working their butts off. But we got to look to the future also, and these are areas that can help with that. I think there's ways to make money there. I mean, our retainer fees help with that, and our billing is going to help. We're not even including our billing. Our hope is that our life quests that are requested in for our new billing agent is also going to increase our collectibles, and there'll be extra income in there. So this is good for the city, I think. But we can't do it at our current. We need that 11th tier at least for these extra EMS contract areas.
Is there a standard practice in terms of how many calls each tier can handle? in terms of how the tiers are built?
There's all kinds of research and studies and formulas out there to figure out call volume per person or per member or utilization of apparatus. Yeah, there's plenty of them.
Okay, thank you.
Jay?
Thank you. I think Chief said it, but when we supported going out into the other communities, I think it was understood that we were going to add this position, and that was one of the reasons, or one of the things that we gave them the approval to add this position if we were going to take those on. So I'm going to support this position.
Our list got, I think Patrick was next, and then Jake.
I just have one question. Is it a one person, like not one person per shift, it's just one person you're adding?
For this 11th tier that I'm asking for is one person. It's just to fill out that missing spot on that one crew.
Yeah, and also just for your information, I've got a email I'm going to send the council members, which includes from 2019, the original memo that explained this whole shift process and the HR council that approved it at that time in 2019. So that'll help give you a little background information. Unfortunately, you don't have it in hand yet. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you. The okay was given at committee level. I believe when we received the numbers, if you go back, I raised these same concerns, and I still stand with this. I mean, the rest of the council is getting to make their decision at this time. They're not all part of that committee. The adding another tier that's news to me. If we have to add a tier because of the contracts, and then we add another tier, that means we did enter contracts on which we are again going to be subsidizing a community area or losing money because we're just trimming above 40,000 this year with these, according to the numbers Tim gave us. So to add another tier, that's going to put us down below taking on these contracts, and that was not discussed at all. This was described as something that would put money in the coffers, that we should really go ahead with do this, and it's already starting to head down a path that's not going to be the case. We did receive an email that addressed some of these concerns and adding people, and I believe we got another email that stated that those were false. I have no problem adding additional tiers for our community, but what I'm concerned with is with these agreements, if we're adding a tier because of those, and we're just barely coming ahead on that, and then we're adding another tier down the road, then we're back to what my concerns were at committee level the whole time, was that we enter bad deals as a city. All I'm saying is that we wait until we see the numbers on that rate study. If that can justify it, then we can move forward. I just don't know why we go down these paths of we entered these deals and now it's like, oh, no, we do need to spend a bunch of money to make sure these go. And to say that these concerns weren't addressed at the committee level before is just not true. I echoed the same thing.
Tim, are you online? Yeah, go ahead.
Like I said, I didn't want to muddy the waters with the 11th tier and a whole different tier, but I'm here to tell you that within 2 years, whether we did this or not, somebody's going to be sitting here in front of you asking for another tier, because I just explained the 14% increase in call volume, and that's going to continue. That is across the whole nation. So somebody, whether we entered into this and we took that one person on or not, somebody's going to be here in a year or two, whoever that chief is, I guarantee you, and they're going to be asking for that tier because of the call volume. Again, I go back to, we're running more calls than the two cities that are closest to us that are comparables to us, and we're doing it with 3 and 6 less people. And we're still running more calls than they are. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, and I understand where you're coming from, Alderman, but whether it's we take these areas on or not, somebody would be here in a year or two asking for another tier. I can guarantee you that, whether it's, a different chief or myself, because the call volume is really regulating or dictating that. And when compared to any area around us, again, we're running more calls with less people right now.
We've got Tim online. Or at least there he is. Tim, there was, I think, Matt, you had questions. Was that Matt regarding finances? Or was that Jake? Or somebody did. Jake, regarding finances? For the firefighter, that extra person or that third person on that tier. And the concern was the contract covering the cost of that position. Oh, go ahead, Jake. You can explain it.
Hey, Tim, so the paperwork that we received at the committee meeting that went over the finances and the expenses and then the revenues stated we would come somewhere about 40,000 above what the expenses cost based on the revenue for this contracts and then adding in a tier 11. And my concern then and is now that going forward with that slim margin that we end up where we're subsidizing these contracts with the cost of inflation, cost of other goods and services increasing. So I just wanted you to talk to that specific paperwork you gave us and those numbers.
Sure. Basically, what I provided the committee with was for adding that one position, 11th tier, the cost of that employee, kind of taking into all the wages, benefits, and other things is $101,947. Then I factored in, okay, now we're going to be adding some additional calls, and I calculated, ambulance supply per run. And so ambulance supplies cost go up $10,042. And then also, obviously, we're running our vehicles a little bit more than what we would if we didn't have the contracted areas. And so vehicle maintenance per call for the contracted areas was $3,600. And then fuel costs was $3,300. And also, obviously we're running our ambulances a little bit more mileage on, so I factored in a depreciation cost of $10,000. So I came up with a total cost on average to, for the take on the contract area with the additional 11th tier is $129,332. And then it took an effect, okay, now we have the contract amounts and then the average revenues for City of Nakusa, Town of Port Edwards, and I got a total revenue of $177,080, which leaves a net revenue of $47,750.
Thank you, Tim. So those are the numbers that I'm speaking to, and again, these contracts go over years, and so any increase in cost take away from that chunk of change, the 47,000 that we are going to be putting in our coffers or coming out ahead to the point where I believe that we could eventually be subsidizing this. All I'm saying is there was talk about a study to look at our rates and adjust them based on increase in costs, and I think we should wait until that's completed.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
I have a question for Tim. Tim, when you costed this out and did the income side of this, is that just the per cap from the communities that we've contracted with? And does that include what we can recover in billing?
That includes the contracted cost plus the ambulance call revenue. And then basically I'm looking at, an average calls per year from Nakusa of 282, Town of Port Edwards of 60. And I'm looking at a collection rate of 60%, which I think is very conservative. So it could be that, obviously with, I think Chief Eckes referred to it earlier in his discussion is about, we're looking at going to a new billing service with hopefully that 60% will kind of increase up to near 70%, and hopefully we'll realize some more revenue from that.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
And Tim can speak to this too. Him and I were already talking about in this next year is about every 3 years or so, we start looking at the charges and our increase in charges, and because of just what you're talking about, the increase. So that's coming up also probably this year or I would hope this year, as long as we can, define a chief that we can sit down and do that. So I would expect that this year those ambulance costs would go up. So there would be extra increase in income there.
Yeah, I do believe as one of the referrals or actions of the finance committee was that we would look at our ambulance rates coming up in the next year and make a referral to or recommendation to the finance committee for based on those results.
Any other questions? If not, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 3 in the Human Resource Committee minutes.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Bemke, and Mr. Veneman beat you by a little bit, Ms. Evanson.
Okay.
It's the delay that got you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Ms. Evanson.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 7 ayes to 1 nay. Items 8 through 12 are being held till the end of the council meeting, so that moves us on to item number 11, reports of other committees, commission, boards, and department reports. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Austin, seconded by Bemke. Is there any discussion on those reports? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Ms. Evanson?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. And that motion carried 7 ayes with 1 abstention. And that moves us on to item 12, referrals to committee. Any referrals from the clerk? Or any referrals to a committee? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Like to make a referral to the finance committee for a balanced budget. Then the second referral I have, I'm going to have to explain it. I don't know exactly which committee it's going to go to. Don't discuss it. Yeah. What I'd like to do is create like a private sign-up sheet for the citizens to be checked on in case of emergency situations where they can sign up and have the fire department or the police department check in if they've lost power or something like that. For elderly single people especially, I think this would be good. I don't think it's going to be a real huge list, but I think that if we had something where people could sign up with the city so that somebody could check on them in case of emergency.
Let me talk with the chief and the police chief and see if we can come up with something that maybe it doesn't need to go through a process, that maybe they can come up with an idea amongst themselves and then we can report back how that would look.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other referrals? Okay, seeing none, we're to item 13, which is regarding the Human Resource Committee's items 8 through 12. So in open session, the council may vote to go into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 1, parent C of the Wisconsin State Statute, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises that responsibility. In closed session, the council may discuss employment compensation for a public employee, including a separation agreement. The council will return to open session, and the council may take action in open session regarding the employment and compensation for an employee and a separation agreement. What are your wishes?
Move to go into closed session.
A motion by Veneman. And a second by Zachary. All right, Mr. Lee,
We have a 5-minute break.
we will do that. So I guess first of all, let's cast our ballots. Ms. Evanson?
Nay.
Nay. That motion carries 7 ayes, 1 nay. We're going to take a quick little recess here, Sherry, so we'll be back here in a second. And so we are at, the council may take action in open session regarding employment compensation for an employee on a separation agreement. What are your wishes?
Would you like me to read the entire? Yeah.
You're moving it, yeah.
I make a motion to approve the following terms for separation from employment for Joe Terry upon tendering of his irrevocable resignation on or before January 7th, 2022, the payment of 6 months severance pay to be paid in a lump sum of $21,700 on December 30th, 2001, and a lump sum of $33,317.50 on January 13th, 2022. Health and dental insurance with employee contributions through February 28th, 2022, and the execution of a separation agreement and release with terms as approved by the city attorney.
I have a motion by Zachary, seconded by Veneman. Ms. Evanson?
Aye.
No, I'm sorry. Would anybody like to say anything? Is there any discussion?
Yep, hold on. Graham froze here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Or we can hear you.
Okay. Yep, okay. I would like to address the council as well as the citizens regarding the entire process of this witch hunt regarding the Director of Public Works position. I don't believe there is even a chance that the current DPW would even consider staying in his current position, even if it were possible. This reckless decision and the way it was proposed and until today has been unprofessional, intimidating, and toxic to the council members, Mr. Terry, and the employees that work for the city. Council members are elected to represent the best interests of the citizens and the city, now and for the future. Effective and thriving businesses and governments in the world do not make quick decisions, nor decisions that have not been thoroughly researched. When leadership makes decisions based on what someone wants for today, this indicates that leadership is weak and makes decisions on personal feelings, not what is best for the organization as a whole. Effective leadership makes decisions based on thorough research, processes, and the possible end results of which could be positive and negative. When effective leaders make decisions, they talk with others in the organization and find out how the end result would directly affect the roles and responsibilities of whom this decision will affect. An effective leadership makes sure the decisions they make will make the organization sustainable for years to come. All this did was weaken the city structure. I have not received any answers to my questions for the last 3 months and what kind of processes and data were used to make this decision. This decision to get rid of Joe Terry, I believe, is embarrassing and unprofessional. I would like a few questions answered yet. If this position was not necessary, Why wasn't Mr. Terry's monthly reports ever questioned within committees and council meetings? If this position isn't necessary, then why has Mr. Terry been involved as an expert in public works issues, defending the city, assisting the city in legal issues with the municipality? Why has Mr. Terry been the point of contact and the one who had identified research and represented the city for a possible transportation utility? Who had been assisting the wastewater plant when an unfortunate accident happened and DNR permitting needed to occur? I have only been on the council for 9 months, but every time a citizen, staff, or council member has any question regarding a public work issue, they ask Mr. Terry and he gives them the answer. It isn't, oh, I'll have to talk to so-and-so and get back to you. Mr. Terry is a professional, knows his job inside and out, and that is why he was selected as the DPW many years ago. In closing, I would like to remind the council that the decision you make to eliminate Mr. Terry from the leadership at the City of Wisconsin Rapids and possible elimination of the position will have lasting impressions upon the city. You set the precedent that every 2 years when a mayor is elected, he or she can determine what positions and department heads are important to them or not. This in turn leads to ineffective leadership and low morale within the organization. The mayor will set the tune to either you're on my side or you aren't. I would not want to be this hanging over my head if I was a department head. I would say good luck to us as a city for hiring top-notch department heads. You might think this decision is only being talked about within the city, but I assure you it is not. We have heard from other organizations, leaders, and citizens from other areas and are confused and shocked as how this can be happening, that we are getting rid of someone of Mr. Terry's caliber. Why do you think it has taken so long in the past to fill prior department heads? It will only get worse. I will not vote for the elimination of the DPW position, but will vote to give Mr. Terry his fair share of the compensation package, as this decision had nothing to do with his performance. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, please cast your ballots. Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for Sherry to vote. Sherry, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. I've been waiting a while. That motion carried 6 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstained. Yep, I'll let the clerk catch up. Okay, we're on to item 1311, which is to consider the status of the Public Works Director position and its possible elimination.
I'll make a motion to send that back to HR.
So we have a motion by Bemke, second by Veneman, to send it back to Human Resources. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Sherry?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Thank you. That motion carried 7 ayes with 1 nay. And we're on to item 1312, is to discuss and consider for approval a request from Mayor Blazer for an organizational restructure of the Public Works Department.
I'll make a motion to send that back to HR as well.
Second.
We have a motion by Veneman, seconded by Zachary. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, please cast. Oh, I'm sorry, Tom, go ahead.
I did it at the last second, I guess. But, not really much to say. Sherry said it all. But again, we did what
I'm
we
sorry, I
did.
can't hear.
Okay, what?
He wasn't talking.
Okay, we did what we did.
Okay.
But now we're afraid to reorganize. We weren't afraid to make that big step off the cliff, which we found out there wasn't a bottom at the bottom of that cliff. So now we have to take a break and have a special meeting. To do something to reorganize. Total incompetency. This is one of, if not the lowest. Point that I've sat through. Being a member of the City Council of Wisconsin Rapids. I've been through some good times, some bad times, low times. This is what they call, you can't get under a snake's belly with this one. No foresight. Just I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Line up the checkers so they fall in place. Make sure we get lined up on committees who's going to be. And so everything falls in. Then it gets time to the point of restructuring. And then we're afraid to do it. A few of us have seen the fault of this through this process. A few of us have spoke up. Sherry has been the most eloquent. She has done her homework. Number one, research. Everything she's asked for, she's inquired about. And then we get to this, and she doesn't get answers. Again, we didn't just get the cart before the horse. We didn't even got the horse. This is a low, this process has been a low process for the city of Wisconsin Rapids. To sit here, I'm embarrassed at what we did, how we did it. It's utterly, utterly disgusting. Questions were asked, but just about the only who asked questions were the ones that wanted to keep the job, keep Joe. I never seen so many run to the water trough to carry it so fast for the manager to stay on the team. We're at where we're at. Hopefully, Rapids can rise above this. I have my doubts. Because if all we do is keep poking fingers at different things and different people, I voted against hiring him. No, I voted to keep him. I worked with him for 6 years. Did you always agree with him? No. Did sometimes he probably get a little pushy? Probably. Goes with the territory. Part of the job. I'll end this with Joe, it's been my honor to work with you for 6 years. I wish it could have continued. Circumstances forbade that. So with that, we can move on.
Is there any further discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, what is the motion?
The motion is to refer the item back to HR committee, the reorganizational chart. And how do you cast your ballot? Did you catch that motion, Sherry? Did we lose you, Sherry? We can't hear you. Sherry? I think we lost her, or at least the audio we lost. So what we put abstain or no vote or? Can you reveal it as is? Sherry, can you hear us? The green light's off. Let's see if we can.
In the meeting now, there are 3 participants in the meeting.
Sherry, can you hear us now?
I can.
Okay, sorry, we lost you on our end. So
Okay.
the motion was to refer the organizational restructure of Public Works back to HR. And how do you vote on that?
Okay.
We lost you.
I vote nay because I don't believe in organizational culture.
Okay, so that motion carried 6 ayes, 2 nays. We're on to item number 14, which is adjournment. We have a motion by Bemke. A second by Zachary. Why don't we just do a voice vote? All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned. Happy holidays and enjoy the days. Will start getting longer now.